and welcome back. We've got another solar-focused interview coming up for you. Ewa Przemieniecki of Avensol joins me now. Ewa, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Now today we are talking about power purchase agreements. And these are something which aren't necessarily new in Switzerland. However, the application of this model using solar technology is. Firstly, can you expand on the basics of PPA and also how it relates to new legislation that's come out recently in Switzerland?
Many companies in other countries have had a lot of success with power purchase agreements in solar. They basically purchase the electricity, the installation on the roof, and then they resell the electricity to the tenant. Here in Switzerland, right now there's a new law that just came out that enables us to install an installation, have one owner that then resells the electricity to the tenant, or maybe somebody that owns a bigger building that resells it to the tenants. So this can create quite a bit of opportunity within Switzerland.
So one of the pros of the new legislation is that no building permit is required, which obviously in terms of client cost, that's a good one. But are there things such as, excess administrative costs or more paperwork, or how does it get sort of a little bit more complex?
This is definitely a big win for solar in Switzerland. We no longer need building permits in Switzerland. When we install new roofs, we don't need building permits, so it's a little bit unfortunate that solar needed it. As professionals, we are obliged to abide by regulations, and I don't see there being any additional costs above all the costs we already pay. With wages in Switzerland being very high, the administrative costs and the permit costs can cost about 2,000 francs per installation on a residential installation. And with the real cost for an installation being 10 to 20,000 francs, that's a significant saving for the client. So this will have a very beneficial effect on all residential installations.
Let's talk then about price competitiveness. How does this new legislation facilitate the resale, for example, of PV plant-produced electricity? And will this prove to be an incentive for the client, or are there greater factors to consider?
Yeah, with these new power purchase agreements, basically the installer, the owner of the installation, just needs to compete with the consumption price. That's actually the cool thing about solar, is that we just need to compete with the price the consumer is paying and not the electricity price, the electricity grid price. So in Switzerland, these prices are anywhere up to 30 cents per kilowatt hour. Globally, there's even countries that have about CHF 1 per kilowatt hour, and that's the grid consumption price. You can't forget all the installations that are competing with other forms of creating electricity that aren't on the grid. So solar has the benefit of being able to compete with electricity production price that's distributed, and these power purchase agreements will enable clients investors to benefit from higher electricity costs.
We discussed already with Greg Stace of Avensol the EU's intention to bring down the energy subsidies. Is PPA a way of kind of getting around that, almost improving that solar doesn't need the subsidies?
The EU Commission's goal is to eliminate subsidies, and that's why they're leaning towards feed-in premiums or feed-in tariffs to slowly sensitize investors to the electricity costs, the electricity grid costs. So power purchase agreements do exactly the same thing, because it obliges investors to be aware of the consumer electricity prices as well. And so it's definitely aligned with that.
Ewa, thank you so much for coming in and chatting with us today. Thank you. That's all for today from Avensol on solar power, but don't go away, as we've still got plenty more exclusive interviews coming up for you on Dukascopy TV. Goodbye.